in action. Rules that keep things going smoothly and fairly. Rules that help us get where we're going. Help us work together, play together, and live together. Of course, in small groups, we sometimes get along without rules.
But there aren't any loud noises, just the sounds of working. We call these work sounds. Listen.
When many of us play together, rules make the game. Rules help us play fair with each other, so all can enjoy the game. Rules that apply equally to all. It's up to each one of us to know the rules and follow them.
Why do you suppose this room is so quiet? Perhaps we can learn from the teacher.
At New York's Madison Square Garden, a city college quintet, faces five fast and fancy wet boots from the University of Oregon. It's the opening contest of an intersectional doubleheader, and New York draws 2 points worth of first blood.
And you know, we have found that knowing when to be quiet is a part of growing up.
16,000 fans watch the boys from the Pacific Coast as they try to stem the onslaught of City College fever. But it's all over when Silverstein shoots off the hardwood, decades the ball, and the ball game for CCNY 38-36.
Because a quiet room helps all of us learn.
How do you do it?
Well, each of us knows how to work quietly. That's very important.
But the evening sports sport is a long way from the locker room. In the second game, a team of Northwestern Wildcats is matched against St. John's University of Brooklyn. The lads from Illinois are off to a springboard start when Bob Coble eases the Allen into the basket to take the lead.
Do you think you could walk this quietly? Listen to this work sound.
But tribal warfare comes to the gymnasium as the St. John's Indians retaliate with 2 points. From now on, the game is touch and go, with 10 men helping to get it there. A beautiful display of teamwork, and Northwestern gets in the number column with sharpshooting Bob Coble doing the honors.
Welcome, everyone, to Learn the Game, where you learn if you've got an F for effort. Today, we're going to be talking about, do more teams make a better league? First, before we get into that, Politicus Rex, how are you doing today, sir?
Doing all right. Doing pretty good.
Minus our theoretical physics talk before the show that lasted for 20 minutes. What are your thoughts on this whole aspect of more teams equals a better league? Because, for instance, with the title of the show, during the 1949 season, and then after Kareem Abdul-Jabbar won his first championship in 1971, there were 17 teams each in the NBA. So George Mikan winning against 16 other teams, is that the same as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar winning against 16 other teams a championship? That's something that I want to know, because people, generally speaking, say that the more modern NBA is better because there's more teams, it's more proliferated, there's more players. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, there are actual timelines that have nothing to actually do with each other. The number of teams is dependent on the financial viability of the association, of the league. You're making money, you make more teams, you make more money. It's got nothing to do with talent. You know, you've got the greatest lacrosse players in the world. What's the pro lacrosse scene look like? It's not financially viable.
Mm-hmm.
But you can have the greatest player to ever live be playing right now. You just can't make any money out of it because it's not popular. That's all it is. Mikan's league, I would say, would actually be more difficult, because the number of teams is dependent on the financial viability of the association, of the league. You make more teams, you make more money. It's got nothing to do with talent. You know, you've got the greatest lacrosse players in the world. But you can have the greatest player to ever live be playing right now. You just can't make any money out of it because it's not popular. That's all it is. Mikan's league, I would say, would actually be than Kareem's 17 league team, because Mikan's 17 league team came about because of a merger where two leagues came together to consolidate the talent. Whereas Kareem's first championship, there were 17 teams, but some of the talent was in the ABA. There were two. There was a separation of talent. So you could argue that Mikan's league from top to bottom was tougher.
Yeah, I would think that if you have the NBL, you have the BAA, and you're able to have two leagues. Now the BAA was newer, arguably. Well, I think most people will accept it was the money league, but the NBL was, to my understanding, was the league that had more of the talent. But you have the BAA that is buying a lot of great basketball players, or hiring, however you want to put it, recruiting a lot of great basketball players to play, and you have the merger, where essentially I think it was a legitimate merger. Some people might say, oh, it's two fledgling teams or two fledgling leagues, although the NBL, I believe at that time, was around for at least 15 years. And I think it's equivalent, if not more so, more potent than the ABA-NBA merger in respect to the time. I'm not saying, particularly that everyone was so fantastic, but you had a league that was established for 15 years versus the league of the ABA before it folded that was less than that. And then you bring it all together, and George Mikan, in respect to the individual person we're bringing up, still dominated for 5 years out of 7 years that he played in the BAA and /NBA. So what are your thoughts on that? Is the NBL BAA merger something that you we're kind of a sidebar, but do you think that merger is undervalued in respect to it being two of the greatest leagues in the country merging together, similar to the BAA and NBA?
Well, what it was with the BAA and the NBL is the NBL was the established league. By established, I mean in people's minds. People knew what the NBL was. They knew NBL players. They had the top players because it was the league that had been around the longest. When the BAA started up, it wasn't a quote-unquote players league. It was a bunch of owners who were rich that decided to start a basketball league. So you had business minds running one league. The other league had the better players. The merger brought the two together. And that's why it's worked for 75 years, 76 years, because you took the best talent and you got them underneath the best business minds. With the ABA NBA, you had the NBA, which was the established league and had all the talent. And then you had these upstart teams that started a new league, mainly in towns that did not have NBA franchises. And they were top heavy. They went after the big names. Get Connie Hawkins, get Dr. J. Connie Hawkins was banned from the NBA because of a college betting scandal. So since he was banned from the NBA, ABA snatched him up. The ABA didn't have a college requirement. So guys like Moses Malone and that could, Spencer Haywood could jump straight to pro ball and not go to school for 4 years when they knew their future was playing ball. So they brought in the top players. If you look at the league from top to bottom, the guys at the top were as good as the top in the NBA. Dr. J is every bit as good as, Dan Issel, Mel Daniels, every bit as good as, Cowens or Unseld, or the top is the top. They're, Gervin and David Thompson are right up there with, Havlicek and Barry. They're all right there at the top. It's when you get down to the bench players. The NBA had more experienced bench players. Let's put it this way. When you talk about experienced bench players, you had bench players from the NBA leaving to be starters in the ABA. There were no bench players in the ABA jumping to be a starter in the NBA.
Yeah.
Okay, so the depth was in the NBA. They only brought in 7 teams. Right? They brought in 7. To which, up until recently, since Denver just won, I believe San Antonio was the only ABA expansion team to ever win a championship.
Mm-hmm.
They basically brought in the other teams because of the whole negotiation for Dr. J and everything.
Yeah.
Most of the teams in the NBA don't even deserve to be there, don't even need to be there. They're just half the teams in the NBA have never won a championship.
Yeah.
It's just there to make money. It has nothing to do with the talent on the teams.
So with that said, and I think I have the answer for it, and I'll give a little bit of my perspective towards it. So not for this to be a leading question, but I'm sure it'll seem like it. I think when you have more of the top teams, and I think that's evident that you have more of the top teams consistently going to the playoffs, consistently going to the finals. You have established rivalries on the biggest stage where they're promoting these games the most. I think that is more effective and more entertaining in total, because that's all it ultimately comes down to, is entertainment. Do you think that having less teams in today's NBA would be more entertaining / a better product of basketball, even as a purist? What do you think about that? Do you think if that were to happen, that the NBA, not money-wise, business-wise, absolutely, there's more money coming in through all these different markets, all these different areas. But do you think the product itself would be better served to have less teams?
Yeah, it'd be a more pure sport. Like you say now, okay, well, when Bill Russell was a rookie, there were 80 guys in the NBA. Mm-hmm. Say we have a huge economic crash in the next few years. Makes, like the Great Depression, where the money is just not there. NBA got news for you. Baseball, basketball, football, they're going away. It's all going to be, no one's going to be paying a basketball player $45 million a year if there's a stock market crash. Okay? And so teams are going to fold. Whole leagues are going to fold in some sports that are not as financially viable. There will be no professional leagues. There'll be high amateur leagues. There'll be pro-am leagues. It'll look like bowling. There's not going to be, what we see it. And then you'll look at, okay, well, right now there's 500 NBA players. There's 150 NBA starters. Well, back when Russell was a rookie, there were 40 starters. 40. Now you have 40 players on 3 teams. Yeah. That's going off on a tangent. That's where people misunderstand the phrase the watered down 90s. The 90s were watered down because not only did they bring in a lot of teams, new teams very quickly, but they expanded the rosters of every team. So guys that were cut the year before weren't good enough are now in the league. And if they get to an expansion team, they're getting quality minutes. Now, the top players are the top players. It doesn't affect them. They're the best in the world. They're the one non-role player on their team. Because that's what I used to always tell kids at basketball camps. Don't try to be the superstar. Find out what you're good at, work on it, find a team you fit into, find a group of guys you can play with where you mesh well. Meshing with your teammates is an actual skill, and it's a forgotten skill. You got guys in the NBA now that jump 5, 6, 7 teams that are supposedly all-stars and future Hall of Famers, but they keep jumping team to team because they can't win, and it's all because, oh, well, these players couldn't play together. Back when I was a kid, there was no such thing. If you couldn't play together, it meant you couldn't play.
Yeah.
It meant you were not a good basketball player because it's a team sport.
Yeah.
Now you got guys that have made $250 million who literally have the rep. Well, they didn't mesh well with the other players and with the Clippers, or when they were in Oklahoma City, or when they were with the Nets. These players couldn't jive. They couldn't play together. Well, then they're not great players. That's the reality. They're not great basketball players. They're great individual talents that can throw up personal numbers that don't lead to winning. That means you can't play because the purpose is to win.
Yeah, no, and I absolutely agree, is that the foundational piece, the purpose of playing basketball is to win the game. That's, if you had, if you want to say what the problem is per game, is how do you collectively as a team defeat this other team? And you can get more specific than that. But that's the problem per every game, is how do we as a team beat this other team? And, to your point, it gets lost on these people that I think avoid really the raw concept of the purpose of playing basketball. And it's not to say that they're not great team basketball players holistically in the grand scheme of things, but in respect to the best of the best, absolutely. If that's the reason is we can't play together, no, man, come on. Like you should be able to figure it out. You're the best in the world, whether you're James Harden or Kevin Durant or LeBron James, even to a large respect. That's your fault, man. Like you should know better. If you're the best in the world, you should understand how to win.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, there's a bunch of players that understand how to win, but they don't have that ridiculous, freakish talent. So they end up guys like Robert Horry or Steve Kerr, or back in the day, Casey Jones, who did one thing very, very well and earn. And this is the thing that people don't understand. Most fans don't comprehend. When they talk about, like, they'll knock down LeBron James saying, well, he only has his, and they did the same with Kareem. When he broke Wilt's scoring record, they said, well, it's only because he played 20 years. Well, no, he broke it in his 13th year or 14th year.
Yeah.
It's like he didn't break it in 20 years. Wilt was 31. He went to 38. He broke it by a lot.
Yeah.
But they say it's just longevity. It's like, dude, how many years of basketball did you play?
Yeah.
Why did you not play more? Because you got cut. You weren't good enough. You have to make the team. That's the thing that people take for granted. It's like, dude, you have to make the team. When they sit there and say, guys like Robert Horry in this, well, he only has 7 championships because he was lucky he was on these teams. No, it's a business. He understood business, and he appealed to those GMs to trade for him or to sign him because they saw his value and how he positively contributed to winning. That's why he was on the team. They act like it's like he just went down to the Y and he signed up on a team. No, he had a GM of a team offer him millions of dollars to contribute 15 to 23 minutes a game. They came to him. They signed him.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not a given. That is earned. And that's what 98% of fans cannot grasp.
Well, even let's go back to the superstar aspect of it. I think a lot of these teams, like you're saying, a lot it's good for money, but is it good for the sport? I don't think so. They're trying to find the superstar, as you've described it, the guy that can do everything, who's irreplaceable. But the thing is a lot of these superstars probably shouldn't be superstars. They should probably be playing the role a lot better than they are. And them not meshing into the team is, I think, their problem, because I think every superstar in ways has to mesh into the team themselves. Now, obviously, they're the one that it's all circled around. But if you're unable to affect the guys that are helping you as the star get there to a greater demand, then what are you really doing? Are you really a superstar at that point? Or are you really just either really most of the time just a fantastic scorer? And for one example, for a guy that got pushed out the league that a lot of fans of his didn't really like it happening was Carmelo Anthony. They were trying to push him out the league. He's a fantastic scorer, decent otherwise with the rebounding and assists and all that. But the point of it is he got blackballed because people didn't think he was a star anymore and he wasn't being a good role player. Or at least that's how I look at it, because otherwise, why would you blackball this guy out the league? Because he wasn't worth it anymore in respect to how you looked at him. That's how I look at it.
Well, he always had a singular mentality.
Mm-hmm.
He always did. It was always about his points.
Yeah.
Now, the only guy. This is, if you want to cut to the quick, this to me is Jordan's greatness. Jordan is literally the only guy in NBA history that had predetermined individual goals that he would not settle on. He would not negotiate. He would not, lessen. He was going to lead the league in scoring every year. He was going to. That's what he was going to do. Because him and his mother just figured out early on when they were deciding the plan for his career. It's just like in baseball. Whoever hits the home runs, they get the fame. In boxing, whoever gets the knockouts gets the fame. In football, whoever has, the yardage record, they get the fame. In basketball, they saw Wilt. Kareem was just setting the record, beating Wilt at the time when Jordan was coming into the league. And it was scoring is where it's at. That's where you get the most popularity, the most fame, where you can get the most endorsements, you can make the most money. And that was a preset plan. He is the only player that came in with that individual mentality, but still was able to turn it into outrageous team success. And 6-0 in the finals is outrageous team success, no matter who the player is, whatever name you want to put on them. That's outrageous. That's crazy. That's crazy successful team. He is the first player and the only player to be able, because remember, Wilt had to sacrifice those individual accolades to finally win. Jordan was able to keep the focus on his individual achievements and still win. That is Jordan's greatness. Now, purists like me are not impressed with the whole still concentrating on your individual stuff. That's, I'm of the Bill Russell school, the Wes Unseld school, which is my greatness is determined by the team that I am responsible for leading.
Yeah. I think that's what it comes down to, is that if you're the leader of the team, the whole purpose of you being the leader of the team is to lead them to the ultimate purpose of winning the championship. So if you're not doing that, you're not the best in the league. Now, people may disagree. Now, I understand that you may have to the point, you may have great individual skill players that are able to do this, that, and the other thing. However, if you're supposed to be the team leader and everyone's looking at you to bring them to the promised land and you're not doing it and somebody else is, that means, and it's categorized by year, that means that you are not the best that year. You are not the best, period. That's how I look at it. And it goes by year, and you look at it holistically, or you look at it on average throughout somebody's career. If somebody's got a longer career, they got more opportunities, and that's fine. That's not, there's no categorization for how long you can play. It's however long you're willing to do it and people willing to let you do it. Now, that's great in its own. And then there's the average of it. It's just how much, when you did play, were you at the top? Now, again, that's just kind of a sidebar. But the point of it is that the purpose of basketball is to win the games. It's not to get the stats. It's not whatever they are. It's to win the game. Now, maybe individually it is for some players. But, for instance, with Russell, I think he was, and I think he did it in a multitude of ways. He was still winning all NBAs. He was still winning MVPs, let alone the championships. And there was a lot of awards that weren't available during this time that he probably would have won as well, particularly the defensive ones and the defensive stats. But either way, the point of it is that if you're not winning and you're still a great player, it doesn't mean that you're, in my opinion, the best player during that time. If you have all these guys who are the best in the world, you're playing in the NBA, you got 500 of the best players in the world. To me, it is more about making it happen. It is more about chemistry and making sure you can do it. It's not like Bill Russell or LeBron James. LeBron James is not going out there playing with me, who in comparison can't play basketball for crap. You know, he's playing with the best in the world. So to me, how I look at it, just like anything, it's about constructing that chemistry. It's about constructing that team. You have the pieces. And I'm not saying it's on the players altogether. It's got to do with coaching. It's got to do with general management because they're part of the team too. But the aspect of it is that I don't think you can be looked at as the best in the league during that time if you're not winning the championship. I think you have to win the championship for that to even be considered. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, what it is individual versus team success, what you value. Now, today it's skewed. I don't hold it against today's players like so many basketball YouTubers do. How the CBA is set up, it's based on their individual success now.
Yeah.
To get a max deal, you have to be, all NBA first team 2 out of 3 years, or you have to win MVP or an individual title, scoring, rebound title, or whatever. And it's all tied to your individual performance. So that's where their priority is going to be because that's where their paycheck is. Just like you, just like me. That's what they're going to, But so I don't blame the players when I say players today don't play defense. No, the rules don't allow them to play the defense. They could, it's the rules of the game made by the owners dictate the product. They're players. So many fans think the players are the end all be all. They're not. The players are millionaires. The league minimum is $1 million a year. The players are millionaires. The owners are billionaires. And at no point in time, anywhere on the planet, did a billionaire take orders from a millionaire. Okay?
Yeah.
Ever. Now, LeBron's the one exception. He's the first billionaire player.
Yeah.
And that's where I blame him more, right? The difference in mentality between LeBron and Jordan is Jordan always went to the best, to learn from the best, to be the best. He had a great high school
Yeah.
coach, went to the top basketball camp, went to Carolina, where the assistant coaches are now in the Hall of Fame. You know, an Olympic, he played for Bob Knight, then goes to the NBA and has Hall of Fame coaches throughout his career.
Yeah.
He knew where to go. We had to talk about Elon Musk off air about, his genius is knowing how to get all the geniuses to come work for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's kind of like what Jordan did. Jordan went to the people that knew and learned and actively sought them out. LeBron seems determined to be the ringleader
Do it
and
himself.
do it himself
Yeah.
to prove he doesn't need those great minds.
Mhm.
I mean, could we say it arguable, of course, because it's conjecture. But in 2010, instead of going to Miami to play for Spoelstra, who was a new young coach, if he would have went to Pop and joined Duncan, at that point, aging Duncan and taking over as the main guy, playing for Pop with future Hall of Famers as his and future All-Stars as his teammates, LeBron might be sitting on more championships than Jordan right now.
Yeah.
And more MVPs. Now, he wouldn't have the statistical dominance because he'd have to share the ball, so he probably wouldn't have ended up the all-time leading scorer, but he would have won. And we wouldn't be having these conversations, but his ego, coupled with, like I said, what the CBA is, how they figure your money, he went to where he can make the biggest splash, get the most PR, the most clicks, the most individuals, and he's a billionaire. You can not like LeBron, but you can't say he's made a wrong step, because for all you guys out there who are fathers and husbands, your number one job on this planet is to protect and provide for your family. Well, he's got generational wealth for his family tree. He's a billionaire. He's done what all of us dream of doing.
Yeah.
To varying extents. So to call LeBron like a failure or this or that is stupid. He's outrageously successful. He's amazingly successful. You don't like him because his rebounding average should be higher, or he should have 2 or 3 more chips than the 4 that he has. He's got 4 chips now. Okay, he's got 4 rings. But it's just funny to me. And I don't like LeBron. I don't like his mentality. I don't like how he does it. But he tries to play GM and bring in better players, right? The teams he's on always mortgage the future to try to bring in the best players to play with him. Where Jordan didn't worry about the players. He wanted the best GM and the best owner who would go find the players for him, and he just played.
Yeah.
And in the long run, that's what works.
Yeah, you can't cross lanes. If you start crossing lanes, sometimes you got to, but if you do it all the time and you want to do everything, it's not going to work. I want to go through some of these comments real fast, Rex. We've got a lot in this subject. Mike used to say that people said he was a fierce competitor, but he said he was a puppy, then he broke his brother's nose in a game. Before the Pelicans go away, give the Bulls Zion, please. Yeah. Let's see. King Rose says, guys like Bruce Bowen and Ben Wallace got career opportunities due to expansion. I don't know if that's all the way true, but even if it is all the way true, I think there's a gray line there. I think it's kind of what Bill Russell famously said to Michael Jordan, that, they would have been in the stands and somebody else, like instead of Ben Wallace during that time, maybe it was Alonzo Mourning on on the Detroit Pistons at that time.
Well,
Somebody was.
Alonzo Mourning also was drafted by an expansion team. So.
Yeah, but he went higher
but
than
he's
Ben
right for
Wallace.
Ben Wallace.
Yeah.
Ben Wallace, I think isn't he the first Hall of Famer who wasn't drafted?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
He I think started at Orlando, was the last man on the team, made the team as an undrafted free agent, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. Ended up getting traded to Washington, I believe, in the Terry Catledge trade. Might be wrong on that too. And then sat on the bench in Washington because Unseld saw something, but they couldn't get it out of him. He showed development, but it wasn't consistent. So he stayed on the bench. Then he went to Detroit and they handed him the keys, and he had like a 4-year peak that was just amazing. But like half of the players on that Detroit championship team all played for the Bullets / Wizards and couldn't even make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Now I find that funny because it's like I said, it's not the best players, the best individual skilled players. You got to have the best management. All those players were together in Washington, but they had lousy management, well, mediocre management, and they never jived. They were never able to get a winning team together. Then they go to Detroit, where Joe Dumars is running things. They get a Hall of Fame coach, and bam, it starts going in the right direction because it's the leadership.
Well, King's Speech says Del Curry got drafted. He wouldn't have got drafted otherwise. And then he says, I think his two sons do well. I think those are two wildly separate subjects.
So he's saying like Del Curry wouldn't have played?
Yeah, he said Del Curry was drafted because of expansion.
Del Curry ended up playing 16 years in the NBA. He would have made it anyway. The guys that wouldn't have made it are the guys that played 3 years, 2 years, 4 years, and then go to Europe or go to China. Those are the guys that would have never made it.
Yeah.
Del Curry, and I've done basketball camps with Del Curry. Del Curry was absolutely an insane shooter.
Yeah. Woodage says, thanks to expansion, Muggsy Bogues became a big name in the league. I mean, and that's what it comes down to is what Rex brought up immediately. It's about money. Now, Muggsy Bogues is great in respect to his icon being such a small guy that could play basketball, but did he really
Muggsy would have made the league anyway.
You think so?
He was a first-round draft pick, mid-first-round draft pick.
Mm-hmm.
He's the all-time leader in assist-to-turnover ratio.
Yeah.
Okay. These are bad. Woodage is correct, but he's using bad examples. Guys that you would have never seen would be guys like Kyle Macy, Liddell Eccles, Darren Day. Guys who were not exceptional. Del Curry was exceptional at one thing. The guys who are exceptional at anything are still going to make it. It's the guys that are jack of all trades players get cut. Because you have to have, when you have fewer teams and fewer roster spots, you can't cut exceptional.
Yeah.
Okay, so guys like that are still going to make the league. Guys that are, like I said, guys like the guy that was the point guard for Houston. Oh, gosh. His name just jumped out of my head right as I was about
Kenny Smith?
Huh?
Kenny Smith?
Oh, no. Kenny Smith was a college All-American, and he was going to make it anyway. It's when you look at the Knicks, when Ewing first came to the Knicks, you had guys like Louis Orr out of Syracuse. He wouldn't have been there.
Mm-hmm.
Trent Tucker, maybe not. He would have been on the border. Guys like that. The guys you can't name because they sat the bench in a bigger league. You know,
Well,
those guys are the guys that wouldn't make it. Guys that were actual starters, like Del Curry, had a long career. It started a lot of years. He's still going to be in the league.
Well, I think that's largely your point, is that guys that you've heard about, and not because they were attached to just team success, they probably would have made it. Even if Ben Wallace had a stint where he had to go out and keep trying out for a year or two, somebody probably would have recognized that he was a defensive monster. Now, again, this is all conjecture. We don't know. But I think that somebody that had that potential that eventually was realized would likely get realized, at least with some scout.
It's what fans don't understand about the game. And I mean the total game. For you go and play in a men's league. If you end up out of that men's league, you're just out.
Yeah.
If Ben Wallace wasn't good enough to make an NBA roster in a smaller NBA, as a 23, 24, 25-year-old, he's going to an amateur league. He's going overseas. He's still working on his game and is going to fight to get there eventually.
Yeah.
It's not like you going down at the rec league. And if you're not playing in that league, you're not playing at all, because that's where your skill level is. These guys, here's the difference. The 400th best player in the world today is playing in the NBA.
Yeah.
Back in the 70s, the 400th best player in the world was a bench player in the ABA.
Yeah.
And if you go back to the 1950s, the 400th best player in the world was playing in the Pro-Am League for the Phillips 66ers.
Yeah.
Okay? It's financial viability versus talent level. They're not directly correlated. And so many fans can't see that they're actually not coordinated. They think they all go together. That the players today are the best because they're the most popular and they're making the most money and they're seen all over the world. That's got nothing to do with it. It's got absolutely nothing to do with human potential. Nothing. It's very likely that the guy with the best innate basketball ability died 1,000 years ago in Central Europe.
Yeah.
And never in his existence knew what a basketball was because it hadn't been invented yet. And he was born and lived in a time when there was no real sport. But he had the athletic ability, the coordination, the hand-eye coordination, the mindset that if he had been given the opportunity in the modern era, would have been the greatest player ever. We're talking about during the last 20, 30, 40 years, only a certain amount of, for one thing, you have to be a man. So all women are out. Then you have to be a certain level of athlete. So another half of the population is totally out. Then you have to be healthy. You can't have long-lasting injuries. You can't have had you can't have had leukemia or any type of severe disease to knock you off the list. All these little things bring you to the top of the pecking order. All right? You can't be, Drazen Petrovic, Lenny Bias, Reggie, what's his name? Reggie Lewis. You can't be any of those guys and die before you reach the potential. Fans act like none of these people existed. Like the entire rest of the human population doesn't exist. And either LeBron James or Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant is the greatest ever because they're just the greatest ever. That's not how it works. Jordan wasn't even the best player in his family until he had a growth spurt that gave him 10 inches over his brother. Skill-wise, his brother was way better than him.
Yeah.
Okay, he wasn't even the best player in his family until genetics gave him an extra foot. There was an interview long time ago where they asked Jordan, if you hadn't had the growth spurt, what would you be today? He said, Larry. That's his brother. He said,
Yeah.
I'd be Larry.
Yeah.
Larry Bird also had a gigantic growth spurt. Dr. J did. David Robinson. When me and David were playing back in Virginia in high school, he was 6'4.5", 6'5".
Yeah.
Okay. There's 1,000 variables that you have no control over that determines who is perceived as the best, as opposed to who may have actually been the best. That's why I say there's no GOAT, because you really don't ever know. There's no way of really telling.
So Rex, let's get through some of these comments, and then let's drop the link because people seem to be into this show. Rex, will Robert Horry eventually be a Hall of Famer? You said yes.
I believe he should be. I think he should already be in. It's not the Hall of highest points per game.
Yeah.
Okay, it's the Hall of Fame. Do you know who Robert Horry is? Yes. Do you know his nickname? What's his nickname?
Big Shot Bob.
Okay, so you're talking about a guy that played in the NBA of Jordan, of Kobe, of LeBron, that of Hakeem, guy that played in that era. And he, of all the guys, has the nickname Big Shot Bob. But then you're going to turn right back around and say, well, he doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame. That makes no sense. Of course he belongs in the Hall of Fame.
So King's Speech just called me out for Melo. I guess I think Melo was a ball hog. I think that I don't think it was wrong to try and choose him as a superstar. But again, I think part of the expansionism is that he should have been more so of a role player. He was selling tickets. He was, but I think he was more of a scorer than I think somebody who could connect the team together, as evidenced by, for one, never making an NBA finals. And I don't think he ever even made a conference finals, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, he did. In Denver.
He made one.
They got to the conference finals. Yes.
Okay, he made one and lost.
That's when I thought he was actually going to be that guy. But then they never, that ended up being it. But you tell me, what is the difference between Carmelo Anthony, Adrian Dantley, and Elgin Baylor?
Nothing other than time. I mean, again, just hyperbolically speaking, without going down the rabbit hole, they both are all fantastic scorers. Now, Elgin Baylor probably did a little bit more than the other guys, but as an individual, but they were all very good individual scorers, and time separates them, and they both really, or all three of them, really didn't have any team success.
Whoa. Dantley got a chip? What year was that?
I don't think that ever happened, if I'm not mistaken.
But the point is, they excel at a style of play that does not directly link to winning.
Yeah.
It's why when you go back and you talk about the 60s, 50s and 60s Celtics, it was common knowledge that if Sam Jones was on any other team, he'd be averaging 30 a game. Every GM, every coach, every player in the league knew that. But he wasn't going to average that with the Celtics because Red would not allow it. He thought having one guy carrying your offense was bad coaching. It makes it easy on the other team. When the ball is coming down court, the other team knows who you're going to. That makes it easier for them to play defense, and it makes it harder for you to execute.
Something I brought up in the Oscar Robertson versus Bob Cousy debate I had recently was that for multiple years, Bob Cousy and the Celtics had 5 or more guys that scored 15 points or more on that team. How do you stop that? To your point, just anyway. That's a statistical. Yeah.
No, but you're missing the method to the madness. The player had no choice.
Yeah.
GM Red said, "You are not averaging 30 here." So, okay, so now you look back and you go, Sam Jones. Well, was Sam Jones as good as Michael Jordan? Of course not. He averaged like 18 a game or 20 a game as opposed to 30. He was never an MVP as opposed to 6. But he won 10 championships and he hit more game winners than Jordan.
Yeah.
But you don't hear about that. And that's the thing, you see, because that's why you just can't go by stats.
Absolutely. I'm going to drop the link and then just breeze through some of these. Derek Fisher was a winner. Iverson was a great individual player. You can't tell me Derek Fisher's career was more significant than Iverson. I'm not buying it, Dart. Sorry, bro. I didn't say that. We're talking about leadership. And Iverson was a leader of that team. Derek Fisher was not. It was either Kobe Bryant or Shaquille O'Neal during the majority of the time that he played with the Lakers. So that's not who we're talking. We're not talking about the Derek Fishers of the world. We're talking about the stars. King's Speech says, Dart, do you consider SGA the best player now? Yes. I also see you backstage, King's Speech. Do I think he's the best player now? For this last year, yes, I do. I'm not saying he's totally. But in respect to last year, he was the best player last year. Absolutely.
But when you're talking about Derek Fisher and Iverson, okay, I believe he used, you already took it down, but I believe he used the word significant. We're not talking about significance. That's outside. That's outside the locker room. Significance. What does that mean? Talking about winning. The goal is to win. You either win or you don't. You either contribute to winning or you don't. So if you take away the names, right? Take away how many times the coach wanted each guy to put up shots. Because remember, when you talk about Iverson shooting all the time, he shot all the time because the coach let him shoot all the time. That was the game plan. Okay? He performed a role on the team. His teams never won a championship. Derek Fisher, as a major contributor to teams, won many championships. We're not talking about who sold shoes, about who has the biggest cultural impact. We're talking about leading to winning. And it takes every player on the team. What you guys may not understand, when you win a championship, it's because every single member of the organization performed near or at their highest potential for the entire season. That means the players on the court, starters, role players, guys coming in on 10-day contracts, the team doctors, the trainers, assistant coaches, the head coach, the travel secretary, getting them in the right hotels, the right schedule, getting them their sleep, the nutritionist, all of it. The GM and all the people in the financial side, making sure everyone's checks came through, that when they had personal issues, everything was handled so the players could concentrate on what they were doing on the court. All of it comes together to win a championship. If one thing is out of sync, they don't win.
Absolutely. We got King Speech Row here. Welcome, King Speech Row. How are you, sir? You're on mute.
Oh, hey guys.
What's going on?
Yeah, my coverage was going shoddy for a little bit. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, I mean, did you ask me something? Because I was going in and out. Like I think I was just right in one little zone where it was like buffering or something.
No, I didn't ask anything, but I guess since this, so you don't think that in respect to the purpose of basketball, that Shea Gilgeous-Alexander was the best player last year.
I mean, look, I mean, right now I think SCA is number 3rd best player in the league, and only because I feel like he just got to this level, which is, he rolls very fast, and I want to see him do it again. Like, he doesn't have to. I don't think he has to get to the finals or even win the finals again. Because I don't think many people are going to repeat in this era. I don't think there's going to be any repeat championships this year. It's very hard given the rules and everything else. And I think this is an era of parity, similar to the post Bill Russell to Magic era. Where you're gonna see a different team win pretty much every year. You will have teams that get knocked off and then try to get back there. And I think OKC might be that team, especially considering that they locked up all the core, or at least the big 3 players for a while. But yeah, I mean, I only had a couple of issues. I mean, again, the Ori thing. It was funny because I did have to go back and look and see that Ori on the '95 Rockets played a big role after they traded Otis Thorpe, right? And he had pretty impressive numbers as a starter. Like, I've always looked at it.
Otis Thorpe.
Exactly. So he allowed them to trade Otis Thorpe and get Clyde Drexler so they could go back to back, and that's a big part of it. So, he was more than it's true. He was a lot more than just a few big shots. He actually did play pivotal roles in certain teams. But I think I expected more for a guy drafted in his position. He was a lottery pick because back then they expected lottery picks to go 4 years of college to at least be perennial stars. And he came in and was like the 3-4 behind Otis Thorpe, and I believe at the time they had Eddie Johnson there. Who was the small forward on the Hakeem teams, like 93? You remember, Rex? Ronnie McRae, but Ronnie McRae wound up with Dallas soon after that. Right, so I'm talking about like 93, 94 when it was their turn to pretty much step up and take the West. I believe it was Eddie Johnson. I'm not. Yeah, I know it was a guy named Johnson.
Eddie Johnson? I thought Eddie Johnson was with Phoenix.
Look, there was a lot of Johnsons and Williams at the time. Right?
Yeah,
like sometimes I confused them, and they were moving around. Like, yeah.
Did they have a white
There were
guy?
like 13 Johnsons and 15 Williams at one point in the league. Oh, Matt Bullard?
Yeah, that's what I was
Matt
thinking
Bullard
of.
was a stretch 4.
Yeah.
I remember Matt Bullard. And that was key. When you use the I did the Olajuwon debate with Dart, and I should have used more of how Hakeem was such pivotal, like in the inside out game. Like, they would throw into Hakeem, draw that eventual double team, kick the ball around the rim, and then Houston was able to be an elite 3-point team for the era based off that, starting with Hakeem. So while Hakeem didn't make too many threes himself, he was the linchpin to a lot of threes being made.
Was that the Mario Ellie?
Mario Ellie was on that team. He was on the '94 team for sure. I think he was on both of those teams.
Yeah, so he
I remember Mario Ellie hitting some daggers against me as well with the Knicks. Yeah. Yeah, so they had from Cassell, Kenny Smith, Matt Bullard, Robert Orr. You had a lot of knockdown shooters that surrounded Hakeem, and really, so then again, like I said, he played. That was another thing he said. He played a lot of defense against Duncan with the Lakers, playing that 4. So yeah, he did have a pivotal role. I just still don't think he's a Hall of Famer, but good player. Good player.
Okay, so you believe that Robert Horry is the exception to the rule, and that he is the one guy with more than 5 championships that does not belong in the Hall of Fame, because every other player with that many championships is in the Hall of Fame.
That is true. And that's,
So you're saying that he was so bad compared to all the others that he is the one that does not deserve it.
Okay, I'll tell you this. I think the NBA, next year, I think the Naismith Hall of Fame it's a lot of politics involved, I think. I mean, look, because you got the MLB, you got Baseball Hall of Fame, right, in Cooperstown. And a lot of people will tell you, we don't like to put very good players in. We only want to put the elite players in. And with the NBA, you wind up I think there are better players who are not in the NBA. I mean, not in the Hall of Fame, who took longer to get to the Hall of Fame than Robert Horry. And yet, unfortunately, they didn't play on championship teams, but they were better players. So it's like, how do you divide that? You know?
Well, just like with Major League Baseball, they have a basic stance. If you average hitting 300 for your career, you're going to Cooperstown. If you hit 500 home runs, you're going to Cooperstown. If you get 3,000 hits, you're going to Cooperstown. They basically have had that as an unwritten rule for a half century. With basketball, with Naismith, it's pretty much been the same. If you get a full handful of rings, you're going in. You're going to sit there and tell me Robert Horry does not deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, but Arnie Rison does. But Carl Braun does. See, so many fans, and I'm not saying you because we haven't had the conversation on the matter, so I have no idea. But so many people will say, well, Bill Russell won because he had 472 Hall of Famers on his team. Then they'll turn around and say Robert Horry and Steve Kerr don't belong in the Hall of Fame. Well, for Russell, you're counting guys that weren't as good as Kerr or Horry, but you won't count them. But you'll count all of Russell's Hall of Fame teammates to deride his success, but then you won't give the same respect to these two. And I don't understand it. If winning 5, 6, 7 championships has gotten every other guy into the Hall of Fame, then they belong in the Hall of Fame too. Unless you want to show me the exception, like Pete Rose gambling or whatever, show me the exception that should keep him out. Because Robert Horry played nearly 20 years. I believe he played 16 or 17 years in the NBA. He won the championship 7 times and was so adept at coming up big at the right moment that the other guys in the league call him Big Shot Bob. But you're going to sit there and go, no, I don't think he was good enough. What is that? I don't understand that logic.
King Switch is on mute. I caught the end of that. I mean, I think that Horry should probably be in the Basketball Hall of Fame or the Naismith Hall of Fame, whatever you want to call it, same thing. I think he probably should, just because of his fame and his impact and just the consistency throughout his career, winning championships on 3 different teams as being an integral role player, as defined as not being the star player, not particularly that he's a starter or not. But the point of it is that either way, winning it across 3 different teams, multiple times for each team, is fantastical. I mean, it's something that even as a role player should be recognized across all time, in my opinion.
Look at Kerr. We got the comment by Aircraft Carrier. Kerr will get in as a coach. Obviously, he'll get in as a coach. What, 4 championships? Is that right? Or 3?
Yeah, 4.
Well, 1 championship, he didn't actually coach them. Walton did. Remember, he had the back surgery and wasn't the actual coach. So
Sure,
if you want to count that or not count that, whatever.
It counts.
But let's just talk about as a player. Okay? If you have a player, this is considered, what is the modern era? What is this? What defines the modern era of the NBA, would you say?
Post 1980. That's what.
No, I'm saying this modern era. What marks this modern era? What is the? I would say the 3-point shot, right?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. That's why a lot of people say that the 1979 that 80 season.
Okay.
That's when, you begin the
So
modern era.
This is literally the 3-point era.
Yep.
Steve Kerr holds the record for the highest career 3-point percentage. So he is the best percentage-wise at what the modern era is known for.
Mm-hmm.
And has 5 championships. But you don't think he belongs in the Hall of Fame. He's literally the statistical leader of the shot that defines the era.
Well, first is 4, because he won 3 with the Bulls, 1 with the Spurs, I believe. He wasn't on I don't think he was on the 03 team. I don't think he was. Correct me if I'm wrong.
99 and 03.
Okay.
Yeah, he won
so
5 total. You
know. Now here's my pushback. Okay, number one. Okay, great. He was the most accurate 3-point shooter. I can give you that. But then it was a low volume. It was a low volume. Obviously he scored 6 points a game for his career. That means that at best he would hit 2. But of course, all of his shots weren't 3-point shots. Kerr could shoot a variety of jump shots. Right? We know that. Again, yes, the role player, pivot role player. If I go to okay, and again, Larry Bird was a terrific, health-wise, all-around 3-point shooter. We know that.
Kerr was better.
All terrific other players.
He's cutting out.
Kerr is a shoot guy. It's a different. Look, I think he was terrific in his role. But the thing is how many are we now putting role players in the modern era?
But let's look at somebody like Ben Wallace. Is Ben Wallace a role player?
Arguable, but remember he has 4 defensive players of the year. If that's the case, then we can put Bruce Bowen, who was an 8-time All-NBA defender.
It's cutting out hard.
I can't hear him.
Yeah.
I heard Bruce Bowen. But if you look at what they're doing is they start picking and choosing what their priority is. If a guy leads the NBA in scoring 4 times, he's definitely going in the Hall of Fame. There's no argument. He's going. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer if you lead the league in scoring 4 times. If you lead the league in rebounding 4 times, you're going into the Hall of Fame. You lead in assists 4 times, you're going in the Hall of Fame. But if you lead Defensive Player of the Year 4 times, you're going in the Hall of Fame. But if you lead in 3-point shooting 4 times or all time, that's not important enough. You don't deserve to go in. What is that? You're either the best. The reason Kerr was on the team was to shoot 3s.
Yeah.
And he hit them at a higher percentage than anyone in history, with the exception of Pete Maravich.
Yeah.
Who's in the Hall of Fame. But you're saying that someone that is the primary number at something that is so important to the modern game that they don't deserve to get in. How? I don't understand that logic. That makes absolutely no sense to me.
Yeah, I don't get it either. Now, how they actually get these guys in here, I'm unsure. Other than that they vote on it, but I think that Steve Kerr should be for that logic as well as a player. How many years did he play? Played what, at least 10 years? I don't know how long he played.
Once again, he played I watched Steve Kerr, and what people forget, Steve Kerr had a devastating knee injury before he ever came to the NBA. He was a better player.
Yeah.
When he was at Arizona, he was, I think, 2 or 3 time all conference. He got injured on the university games team.
Mm-hmm.
And Muggsy Bogues was the point guard. He was the shooting guard, and he wrecked his knee. And I believe he missed the whole next season. And he ended up being drafted low. I'm not sure if he was drafted at all. I believe he was like a 3rd-round pick. I'm not sure. Can't remember off the top of my head.
Second round, 25th pick, 50th
okay,
overall.
So he had a long, distinguished career.
15 years, looking it up.
Part of a winning team, the winning team 5 times. I mean, the coaches knew what he was. They needed what he provided, and he did it. See, people think it's all about the points he scored. That's the thing that cracks me up. Well, he only scored 6 points a game, so he doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame. His job was to keep the double team off of Jordan.
Yeah.
That was his job. Right? Because when you double team Jordan, you got to look at it. Let's look at it from a coaching point of view. You're coaching against Chicago Bulls, right?
Yeah.
Just like Craig Hodges in the first 3-peat. You're coaching against Chicago Bulls. You want to double Jordan, right? Obviously.
Typically, yeah.
You got to double Jordan. Okay. Well, Jordan's going to be covered by your shooting guard. Who are you going to double him with? Are you going to double team him with your small forward? Because if you do that, then Pippen's open. So you can't do that. So your only other option is to double team Jordan with your point guard. But if Steve Kerr is out there as the all-time percentage leader in 3-pointers, and he's on the weak side, staying away from Jordan, staying a skip pass away, that means you can't double team Jordan. You can't. So when you look at Jordan's scoring average and assists, when you look at Pippen's scoring average and assists, part of those numbers were made possible by Steve Kerr spotting up on the weak side of the court because his man had to stay there. You couldn't leave him open. He only had to make 1 or 2 a game because as soon as you didn't want him to get hot because then you've got the 3rd best offensive option or 4th best offensive option getting hot and Jordan's resting. That's failure. Okay?
Yep.
That's the reality of what he brought to a team. It's not how many points he ended up scoring. It's what he was able to provide by being on the court, being exceptional at what he was exceptional at.
Yeah.
What his final points ended up being was determined by the other team's coach.
Yep. It's ironic when he started getting successful that he was picked to these powerhouse teams in the first place. That, I don't know, they saw some sort of value in his skill set.
Here's the thing, though. You guys aren't old enough. Everyone knew what Steve Kerr was when he was at Arizona.
Yeah.
He was the college all-time 3-point percentage leader.
Yeah.
Before he went to the NBA. Everyone knew what his worth was. The problem was in Cleveland, he was stuck behind a whole gaggle of fantastic guards.
Yeah.
They had Kevin Johnson, Mark Price, Ron Harper. I mean, he was playing behind Ron Harper. Are you going to really bench Ron Harper for Steve Kerr? He was behind Del Curry. Del Curry was on that team.
And that's my thing, Rex. That's my thing. You name one guy, Kevin Johnson, was not in the Hall of Fame. Do you believe Kevin Johnson's in the Hall of Fame?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, all I'm saying is they do, it almost comes to the point where the Naismith Hall of Fame becomes a little political because why isn't Kevin Johnson in the Hall of Fame? I mean, I know he played 10 years. And again, you're talking about a guy who averaged like 12 assists a game one year and was 4th in assists, in the league assists. So he was one of those terrific, straight up penetrate and like he messed defenses up. I mean, again, when you would. Yeah.
The reason I can tell you the reason Kevin Johnson is not in the Hall of Fame comes down to one play. One play.
Are you talking about against Houston?
No, I'm talking about against Chicago.
Oh, okay.
They give him the ball.
Okay.
Game 6, 93, they gave him the ball. Westfall did, to take the last shot instead of Barkley. And he gets blocked by Horse. And that's the series.
I remember that.
They lose.
I remember that.
They go to Barkley, and Barkley has said it's the only regret he has in his life. And Paul Westfall, before he died, said his only regret as a coach was not giving the ball to Barkley. Barkley scores. They go to game 7. Maybe they win. Maybe they don't. But then you have the opportunity. If they come away with a championship as the only team to beat the Bulls in the final, and he's the all-star starting point guard and has that ring, he's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I just wanted to be said that Phoenix team was so terrific. That Phoenix team, I believe, were they favorite? They should have been favorite.
Yes.
But they had home court advantage. I mean, you had a team with Tom Chambers.
But the problem was that they had one glaring problem. If you go back and look game to game at their bench, they had a volatile bench. They had a bunch of guys on the bench that had outrageous potential, but big personal issues, and that team was not going to last.
Yeah.
It was going to self-destruct. Yeah, Oliver Miller, Cedric Ceballos,
Richard Dumas. Okay. I mean, unbelievable talent. Unbelievable talent. Like, Tom Chambers is the 8th man. He's coming off the bench, the 3rd guy off the bench.
Now, you see, I think Tom Chambers is a borderline Hall of Famer. If he got elected, I would be But yeah, he had some years, especially in Seattle, where he was just unbelievable. But
when you want to talk
on the West Coast, and it was before the internet and all that, not a lot of people got to see him.
Real fast, I want to mention this guy that had a fantastic career. He's in the Hall of Fame, but the aspect of it is that he was jumping around great team after great team after he left his first great team is Danny Ainge, because he was on the Portland Trail Blazers finals team. He was on the Phoenix finals team, and obviously he was on the Celtics finals team.
Championship team. No, Celtics championship team.
Yes, absolutely. But the point of it is that
playing Major League Baseball.
But that's the thing, is that you got a guy like Danny Ainge, and I'm not saying they're exactly the same. They're obviously different positions, different roles, etc. But you got somebody like Danny Ainge making the Hall of Fame. Why don't you have Robert Horry making the Hall of Fame? And I think Danny Ainge, in certain respects, was not as successful as Robert Horry. What about that?
Well, is Ainge in the Hall of Fame? Is Ainge in the Hall of Fame? I don't think he is he?
I don't think so. I think
then that would be 6 Hall of Famers for the Celtics.
I think he is.
And I just want to. I don't think. Well, we can check it. But I mean, again, Ainge is the guy that people laugh at. You know who do this. Look at the guy guarding Jordan, and he wound up guarding Jordan in multiple final series with multiple teams. He wound up guarding Jordan for 3 separate teams, right? But here's a guy that could have went pro. He went pro. He did go pro in 2 sports, and he could have went pro in the 3 major sports. He could have went pro in football too. He was a football All-American.
First team.
I mean, I'm an athlete. Say again.
First team. High school All-American. Yeah. He's the only 3-sport first team All-American. Yes.
But according to a certain fan base, this guy's a white guy. You guys know, unathletic white. Now Danny was all of 6'5", because I remember one of them times because he doesn't look it. He always had that boyish look, right? Even today, he looks like he's about 40 and he's like 60 something.
My dad always said that Danny Ainge had the most punchable face in the NBA.
Yes. But he was all about 6'4.5". I remember one time he was guarding Pippen and he held his own on the blocks. I'm like, why? He's bigger than he looks. He's all of 6'4.5". And he held his own. I mean, obviously he's not one. You don't want him on Pippen the whole game, but yeah, he was a hell of a player. He was a hell of a player. And then, again, if he does get to the Hall of Fame as a player, he should be as an executive, then he would be, that would make 6 Hall of Famers for the 86 Boston Celtics. But yeah, I mean, look, again, I just think it's almost like, and I hate to play that game. Well, if you're gonna put this guy in, and this guy should get in first, but there are great players that are not in the Hall of Fame. Like, I think Charles Sprewell was a Hall of Fame talent. I think Sean Kemp. But then because their career ended in such a fashion, they don't get the love.
That's what I was saying earlier. Self-destruction. But if you actually look at just what was achieved on the court without looking at any of the extracurricular stuff, any of the peripherals, yeah.
96 Sean Kemp. 96 Sean Kemp was the star of the Sonics. I know Peyton winds up being the Hall of Famer, but 96.
Bro, I got a question for you that's unrelated to this. How do you think you're cutting it out? But I got a question for you, and this has nothing to do with the show. How in the world did you put Nick over me in that Hulk Hogan versus Stone Cold debate?
And mind you, you were cutting off my. That's not the reason, but you were cutting off my I think especially I think you didn't understand that the thing about pro wrestling, it's about money. Just like, unfortunately, what the NBA has become, because I call this NBA the NBWWE, because at the end of the day, pro wrestling, yeah, record. You brought up too many things about the record when it's Vince McMahon who wins or who not, and it's based on a storyline. I believe it did a better job and brought the sport. Hogan is the Babe Ruth, of wrestling, quote unquote. I'm in and out, man. My God, my phone is saying 4G. I need to say it 5G. But it's the fact that I think Nick, especially when he laid out the fact that, hey, this is a predetermined sport. Actually, you look at one guy like, I don't know if you watch the product now, but a guy like Solo Sikoa takes pens all the time, right? But he's looking at one of the future of the league, being he's probably the heir apparent to the hottest storyline in wrestling right now. But he loses a lot. Like, he just lost to Sami Zayn in a non-title bout, but he has a belt. And that's the reason. It's really kind of who holds the belt and who's the face of the, a certain part of the show. And that's, I think, that Nick was able to really, I think he had yeah.
I described how Hogan had more world championships, for one. He was only the world champion. Yes. That he was winning so he had more wins in respect to his record in total, meaning he was more over. People want to see these guys win. You know what I'm saying? So he had more percentage because Stone Cold was a journeyman for most of his career.
You're right. He got fired from WCW. He went to ECW, didn't work out. But then he came to WWE, and again he set the modern era. Like he set
But Hogan had, and I brought this up in the debate. Hogan had the record for WrestleMania 3 in respect to the stadium. You're talking about money, and you're talking about the length of time that Hogan did it over the time, as eat your vitamins, and then even when he went heel. So I explained all of this. Where did Nick explain all of that away?
Now I'm going off of memory from like two Sundays ago. But no, he actually did. First off, he laid off that this is a work. It's not like when you say it's a work, meaning it's predetermined. Now again, yes, Hogan, you talk about a guy with creative control clause in his contract. And everybody knows what the term "this doesn't work for me, brother" means. Like, Hogan used it from 90 to basically the end of, basically even with Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels, see, this is the thing. Shawn Michaels should have gave us a trilogy of matches. But Hogan said, no, I only want to do one with Shawn Michaels. And that's why Shawn Michaels did the famous overselling and hopping off the turnbuckle and shit like that every time Hogan did a move. So if you understand that, and I get that part. Look, look, Hogan and Stone Cold are on Mount Rushmore. There's no way, and the question is okay, well, which one do you think is greater? I think that Nick had more, there's more aspects, because Stone, let's put it this way. As we've seen, unfortunately,
what did he say? I don't know what he said.
Okay, number one, he said this is a work. He mentioned the fact that Stone Cold's influence is even there now. As soon as you hear that glass shatter, he doesn't even have to be in the stand. He could be. I'll put it this way. And now Hogan is no longer with us, and Hogan got booed on the Netflix stick, right? If you hear the glass shatter, and Stone Cold could be by satellite, he's that over to this day. He hasn't been physically able to wrestle in a long time. Even when he did that little Stone Cold stunt on Vince McMahon, it was pathetic. But yet, we don't care, and that's what I'm saying. The greatness of Stone Cold is in how I think the greatness is being over. And the win-loss record doesn't necessarily mean that you're the most over. Really, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, they're not writing it down. Like, I saw somebody writes it down, and I know Goldberg, right? The streak, they had to add shit in the streak to make it seem like it was better. But at the end of the day, Stone Cold, the influence, I think it'll last even longer. Again, I'm a Hulkamaniac. I grew up a Hulkamaniac. It was some, it was close. I gave it 2-1.
Yeah, I think we just got different perspectives. I don't see how his argument was better than mine. It is what it is. But I mean, I never said that I never said it wasn't a work. I know it's fake. Everyone knows it's fake. But he was put over that many times because people wanted to see him win.
Oh, no doubt.
Stone Cold,
no doubt.
Stone Cold was getting run over because they wanted to see other people win. But anyway, I just wanted to ask that question.
No doubt, guys. No doubt. I mean, you should do another wrestling debate. That's the wrestling got a whole set of debates in itself. But yeah, no, it was a good show. I mean, I had a couple of listen, you guys are terrific, man. Nobody, honestly, the breakdown that you guys have, some of these shows are so damn superficial, and they don't really break down. They don't really have basketball talk. So this is my style. Talking basketball, talking more than just LeBron versus Jordan, more than the stuff that they talk about on ESPN, which I think is ruining the game. So, I always salute to you guys, man. And like I said, I do my show Tuesdays and Thursdays. I won't be this Tuesday because I'll be flying to Brazil. But Thursday I will have my show up, and you guys are always invited, man. I know it's hard, the hours and the time differences, and you work nights, right, Rex?
My what?
You work nights, right? You told me one night you had to go to. Oh, okay. All right. So I
go to sleep early because I go to work at 4 a.m.
Yeah. Okay, so you work my favorite shift. I used to work at 5 to 2 p.m. shift. Loved it.
No, I work 15-hour shifts.
Oh, okay. All right. So you're a hardworking man. Anyway, like I said,
at my age.
I feel that.
I got a question in the chat though. Aircraft Carrier said, "I love Mikan, Russell, and I think Ori." Well, who does he think I don't like?
Well, you did just admit you don't like LeBron.
No, as a person.
First time I've ever heard you say that.
As a person.
Yeah.
As a player, I think he's phenomenal. What he's achieved,
he's a great player. Yeah.
Just like Jordan, just like Russell, just like Kareem, he has a singularly unique career.
No.
But you see, that's the difference. Is I respect all of them for what they've accomplished, because I was able to get close just to sniff it, but not actually be part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, to actually know how great these guys are, but to see when things go bad, a certain mentality always in every era rises to the top. And the worrying about your personal stats is not what rises to the top. And it never has.
The cream rises.
The only, like I said, that's Jordan's real greatness, is that he's the only guy that was able to do both consecutively at the same time. No one else was ever able to do that. Other guys did it, but they changed. Like, Wilt, famously, him and Babe Ruth are the only two American professional athletes in major sports that changed their entire way of playing halfway through an already Hall of Fame career. That Wilt was scoring at will and then changed to play more like Russell when it was impressed upon him that that's why Russell wins. Well, and he started playing that way, and then he started going to the finals like almost every year.
Yeah.
He went to the finals in 67, 69, 70, 72, 73.
Yeah.
Once he changed to that style of basketball, Russell's style of basketball, he didn't make the finals twice. He made the conference finals every year.
Yeah.
And then made the finals and then won 2 out of 5, I believe. But you see, that's what I'm saying.
That's true. And then people will say, well, look at his playoff numbers. No, he changed his style, and then he started winning more. And that's one of the things about LeBron is like, hey, LeBron, some of these teams, if you would average 24 and you would have let a couple other guys get in their 20s, they would have had more success. But you wanted to get like the 2022 season. I mean, you pushed for Westbrook. You knew Westbrook was going to be the point guard, and it was like you had a hard time playing off the ball more. And then when everything broke down and AD got hurt, I mean, at the end of the season, it was LeBron playing center.
But that's what did you ever see the show that me and Dart did about the differences between LeBron and Jordan?
Probably missed it. I would love to go back and watch it.
Okay,
it's going in oblivion.
I alluded to it a bit.
Oh yeah, unfortunately, right? Yeah, damn it.
Jordan always seeked out. Remember, I am a Jordan hater, I'm told. Jordan went and always sought out the best coaches, the best competition, and the best examples.
Yeah.
All right. When he won in college, he was not the main option. He was a role player.
It wasn't.
Okay. With the 84 Olympic team, he was the main guy. But on the Dream Team, he was not. He voluntarily did a utilitarian role.
Bingo. Because I see a lot of
When Jordan had his druthers, he was a well-rounded team player. That's how he preferred to play.
Yep.
With Chicago, that wasn't happening. It never happened. That was not going to be the case. He never got in that situation. He was always the alpha male.
Can I point out something real quick?
Yeah.
Real quick. Because you got Jordan, right? Remember, they went 8-0. The 84 Olympic team went 8-0 against the NBA Select All-Stars, right?
No, well, that's true. That's not true. But
that's not true. Okay. Well, they won. But in '92, you point out he was a utilitarian player. Like they didn't need Jordan to be the main scorer to beat the field. Now they played a great field. Keep people saying because there weren't no NBA players. There were no NBA players because you were contract. Like the NBA did not allow their players to play for the Olympics, and those other players like Sabonis in the West stayed home, played in Europe rather than play for the NBA and not be able to play for their country. That's number one. But number two, Jordan didn't need to be the guy. He didn't need to be what he was on the Chicago Bulls. This past Olympic team, you talk about the Team USA almost lost to South Sudan. A team led by JT Thor, Carlick Jones, and there's no knock on these guys. And there's no knock on Luol Deng for funding that program. But they almost lost with LeBron pretty much not realizing, hey, be a utilitarian guy instead of the guy you are with the Lakers and go to, and the Lakers and the Miami Heat, wherever else you played, you have immense talent around you. You don't have to do everything. Then as soon as they actually started going to Curry, started letting Curry be obviously Curry broke, in the two medal games, in the semifinals and the finals. He was the guy. They won. This is the problem. Like LeBron.
Yeah, well, that's what I was about to get to. LeBron has been the main man since 16 years old.
Yes.
He was never on a team. I don't know whether it's circumstance, or whether it was his personal choice. We know at one point it was his personal choice. When he leaves and goes to another team, he goes to another team that he can lead.
Yep.
And that's the thing is when Wilt went to the Lakers, he knew he wasn't going to lead. Elgin Baylor and Jerry West were the leaders. His job was to play defense and grab rebounds.
And he understood that role was pivotal.
Yes.
Like now I'm making the Lakers a team that can, even though, Boston had broke up, right, with Russell retired, but I'm with this team that we could have beat Boston. If they had me, we probably would have beat Boston a few of them years. That was his thinking was. And of course, then they ran into another terrific Knicks team twice. And of course, I have my franchise only 2 championships. Thank you. But yeah, but then 72 was a pinnacle. 72 was a amazing team. And I still think that's one of my greatest teams of all time because, again, 33 wins in a row is in all team sports. That's the record. All American team sports. That's the record. And, that. So when I put Wilt as my number 2 player of all time, well, I start with that, Yeah,
and you see, but that's the difference to me. See, it's hard. I don't know exactly how to, but so many players today, this is the downfall of modern NBA to me. Number one, AAU is the worst, is the most destructive force in children's sports.
Terrible.
And I called that 30 years ago. Could see which way it was going.
Mm-hmm.
And the CBA basically hinging players' pay on personal performance. Just, if you wanted to see basketball get back to the pure sport, and here's the thing, everyone knows on my thing it has Politicus Rex. I'm not a fan.
Yep.
This is what I mean by that. I am not a fan of the NBA. I am a fan of basketball, of the sport. Not how many clicks it gets, not how many highlight reels it gets, not individual statistics. None of that interests me. The sport itself is what I am just a total fan of. It is the perfect sport. Every player must possess every skill to some extent. It's not the isolationism as with football, where you have guys in the Football Hall of Fame that never touched the ball in their entire career because they were defensive linemen or an offensive lineman. You know what I mean? You got guys that literally have never touched the football, but they've had Hall of Fame football careers because it's an isolated sport. You have very specific jobs.
Exactly.
In basketball, you have to be able to do every single. There's actually a rule in football that says the offensive lineman can't run downfield.
Yep.
He's not allowed to. Okay. Can you imagine a rule in basketball saying the center can't go over half court?
Yeah. Yeah. That's the difference.
Every player has to do every skill. You have to be proficient at everything and at the same time mesh with your other teammates who also all have to be able to do everything, playing against a team who every one of their players has to know how to do everything.
Perfect
Only
two-way
sport
sport.
that has that. That is why
Perfect two-way
basketball is
sport. Yeah.
great.
Perfect two-way sport. I saw a quote from Chet Holmgren that they attributed his shot to Kobe and Jordan, where he said, "Well, if you got to take 35 shots to score 30 points, that's not good basketball." And again, I'm sure if he said that, he wasn't taking shots at Jordan and Kobe. But of course, you know they'll throw them on the meme. This is basketball. There's no script. If a guy takes 35 shots, it's because, yeah, like you were saying with Iverson, the coach wants him to take 35 shots. It's because that's the way the offense is set up. It's
Well,
not
that's
a
the thing
like,
that cracks me up with so many fans, and I know you've run into them. You got
Of
some
course.
fans that look at the stats as that is the measurement. Like scoring average is a ruler.
Yeah.
And I'm taller than you because 30.1 points per game is more than 27.7.
Uh-huh.
So I'm a better scorer than you. And that's not reality. It's situation and circumstance.
Exactly.
And it's an organic thing. Now, when you talk about, coaches and game plans, the biggest one to me is people will talk about Wilt, and on one hand, they'll say, 50 points per game, and scored 100. But a lot of that, and they asked Jordan, well, how come you never scored 70 or 80 or 90 or 100? And Jordan was very honest about it. He said they would never let me.
Gotcha.
You see, Jordan was a guard, and he famously got pummeled throughout the 80s. Okay? So Jordan couldn't score 100. Did he have the skill to, on a really hot day, score 100 if the defense didn't cheap shot him? Yes. But that's the difference. That's why Wilt is the one that did it. Because you couldn't cheap shot Wilt because he could break you in half. He was the biggest, strongest dude in the league. He was that guy. He was bad Leroy Brown. So when he got hot and they were feeding him and they said, we're just going to give it to him every play, you just had to deal with it because you couldn't cheap shot him the way Detroit used to do to Jordan. Can you imagine if Bill Laimbeer tried cheap shotting Wilt?
Mm-hmm.
What that would end up being? That would be a televised murder.
Sticking on this, right? When I judged a debate a couple of Sundays ago with Travis and Casual, right? Casual said that Magic Johnson was a fourth option on one of his teams because he was fourth in scoring. And that's what, in my opinion, that's where he lost the debate. At what point is Magic Johnson, because he was, at what point, it's like you're trying to penalize Magic Johnson as the point guard for doing his job of making enhancing other players' score on his team. And it was just
listen to the people responsible. Pat Riley has spoken on this.
Uh-huh.
When they called plays, the only play Pat Riley would call was when he wanted to assert Kareem early.
Mm-hmm.
And the number one rule, play number one, Magic, get the ball to Kareem where he wants it.
Exactly.
Get him the ball.
Exactly.
Once that play is not being ran, the decision on what play was run was completely up to Irvin. So by definition, that means every year that they played together, Magic was the second option because it was his decision.
Thank you.
As to if he wanted to take every shot, he could, and they let him because that authority was given to him. The standing rule was beginning of every quarter, you get the ball to Kareem.
Yep.
Because everything else will transpire off of that.
Bingo.
I just want to say something. Aircraft Carrier said Dart has Magic ranked like 20th of all time.
You have him 9th, I thought.
No, so with the with the mixture of average career, how well they were across, let's say that so I look at it two ways. There's the totality where essentially you just, in summation, you add everything together. And then you have the average of how impactful they were in respect to a plethora of things, particularly individual titles, team titles, and then awards. So in total, with those two things, now this has nothing to do with Icon, because when I was just arbitrarily including Icon, I had Magic Johnson as a Mount Rushmore player. Now, with only these things together and equally accounting for the summation and the average, I have Magic at 11 without Icon. So to me, I think he's definitely a top 10 player. And, just even arbitrarily putting it, I think he's probably a top 4 player. I personally think how you perform across your career on average is more impressive than how you do in total. Now, it's still equally impressive, and you got to count for it. So, but I think that if you're on the top your entire career, I think that's more impressive of just accumulating things that aren't, to me personally, as impressive. Getting some of these awards that aren't as, just a little bit at a time. Like if you get one All-Star award and a third team All-NBA for 5 years in a row, I'm not saying naming names, but it's not I think that's less impressive than having one Willis Reed year where you win All-NBA, Finals MVP, All-Star MVP, win a championship, all of these sorts of things. I think that 1 year is more impressive than 5 years of getting an All-Star and then also getting, a lower All-NBA team. So that's just an example. But the point of it is that, yeah, I personally think Magic Johnson, without trying to attach some sort of value to it, is probably a Mount Rushmore player. But because I don't think you can measure Icon as much as tangibly. But I think he's up there, and he's definitely, I think he's probably a top 10 player all time.
I don't rank players.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you've culminated, Rex.
Yeah. Well, because how are you, the way of rating them are so different. Like say, okay, well, there are 5 positions. There have been 5 positions on a basketball court for about 100 years. So, and if you ask a player, if you see a player walking in the airport, you go, hey, are you playing the NBA? And they say, yes. What position do you play? They're going to tell you a position. They're going to tell you, I'm a forward, I'm a center, I'm a guard. What? Okay. So if the players themselves categorize them by position, then if you think Magic Johnson is the best point guard ever, then he has to be in your top 5, doesn't he? Because how can your second best power forward be better than the best ever point guard, or vice versa? Whichever position you want to choose.
Yeah.
So, but then when you start selecting a team, and you say put your best team together, I always see guys like have Steph and LeBron and, Kobe and Jordan and Hakeem. And it's like, dude, you realize there's only one ball, right? So where those guys are great individual talents, if you actually put all those guys together in one team, it would be a horrible team.
Yeah.
It's like when Barkley signed with Houston, I said the second I heard it, that's a horrible idea. Why is he going to Houston? Because he plays the same position as Hakeem in an offense. He plays the post on the left block. And Hakeem's going to play there. So Barkley isn't. Barkley's forced to the perimeter. Okay. Well, if he's forced to the perimeter, Barkley plays the same position as Drexler. So he doesn't fit there. So now you're saying you're going to take 30-something-year-old Barkley and you're going to have him play a position he's never played before. He's no longer Barkley.
Yeah.
That's like taking Jerry West and saying, okay, buddy, we're going to have you play power forward now. Okay? It's not going to work. That's not the skill set. If it was, he would have been playing that position to begin with.
No.
And I just never understood why they do all that. It's just putting famous names together does not make a great team. That is why when people say, okay, we know, Rex, you don't rate players, but if you had, and you don't believe in a GOAT, but if you had to pick one guy, who would it be? And that's why I say Russell, for 5 or 6 different reasons. Number one, the obvious, he always won. Not just in the NBA, international, college, high school. People always talk about, oh, well, Kareem, Kareem has the greatest resume. His resume ain't that much better, if it is, than Russell. Russell's resume is actually better than Kareem's. Kareem won one more high school championship and one more college championship, had one more college player of the year, but loses in the championship in the NBA, having 5 less. So, Russell's career, was up there with Kareem. When you talk about individual impact, Russell was a 5-time MVP. That's equal to Jordan in less amount of years. And also is only one less than Kareem, the record holder. Then Russell, and this is a big one, when you talk about Kobe basically is a copy of Michael, right? I mean, that was on purpose.
More or less, yeah.
Yeah, he copied Michael. That was his way to the top. He found someone who he considered to be the best, and he copied everything they did and worked as hard as he could to try and equal those heights. Right? That's a famous success philosophy. When you look at LeBron and these guys come along and say, oh, well, he's the next Magic. He's like Magic. Personally, I think he's more Oscar. But, the next this. And who's the one player that there's never been a next? And that's Bill Russell. No one has ever played like Bill Russell. Ever. No one before him played like him, and no one since played like him. He is the most unique talent that has ever graced a basketball court. No one has copied his style because they can't. The dude won 11 championships. Why would you not try? Wouldn't you try to copy it? But people can't.
Yeah,
you can't copy him. And that's why if I had to pick someone, I would say Bill Russell. The leadership, the dedication, the loyalty to team and teammates, the IQ of understanding it's not I shoot, I score. It's we shoot, we score. The dude didn't even keep track of his personal statistics. He didn't even know what his averages were because he purposely refused to look at box scores. He said,
it ultimately
the only
doesn't
thing
matter.
that matters is the W. And I bring W's. He famously said, I'm the one you pick first among all the other players. If you have an all-time draft, who do you draft first? You draft me because I will not distort your offense or defense. Now, what he means by that is that you take me, you get the rebounding, you get the shot blocking, you get the leadership, you get the dedication. You can build whatever type of team you want with draft pick 2 through 16. Filling out the roster, you can have a fast pace up and down team. You can have a slow down team. You can play the triangle. You can have whatever type of team you want with me as your first pick. You can go in any direction, and we will maximize the other guys that you pick. Whereas if you pick LeBron first, you know the team has to be built a certain way, or it's not going to succeed. If you pick Jordan first, if you pick Wilt first, again, depends, young Wilt, old Wilt, two completely different playing styles. But it then leads to you have to select other types of players, right? Like if you take Kareem number 1, well, then you pretty much know you got to take Magic or Oscar or a John Stockton number 2, because Kareem, when he didn't have a top point guard, was not as effective when it came to winning. He had to get the ball in his spots. Then he was unstoppable. But if you kept him out of his spot, he wasn't average, but he was less than unstoppable. So you had to have someone that could get him the ball for him to be superior. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then even with Oscar Robertson, I'm not saying you do, but I know you don't. But the aspect of people ignoring his capabilities that were in a lot of ways similar to Magic Johnson, not as flashy, probably not as fast, but being able to do a lot of things all at once and be able to be a floor general as well, I think is, to your point with Kareem, he needed somebody who was smart enough to be able to get him the ball and then move the ball otherwise to be successful team-wise.
Well, here's the thing. The problem with the Royals was you had this guy that half the time could score on his own. He could average 30 points a game. You can't stop him. But he was completely willing, as the assist titles show, 100% willing to give the ball up to competent scorers. But they could never get anyone besides Lucas to long term for him to pass to. So it became a point that he was passing to mediocre shooters.
Yeah.
So what you have then is a predictable offense. And that's why they never won a title. Because they had
they weren't even making playoffs too. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
They weren't even making playoffs when it was 3 out of 4 guys. Yeah.
That's why Boston was so successful, because they insisted on not having a predictable offense. Bill Russell, at different times, led the team in scoring on playoff runs, in assists on playoff runs, and always in rebounding. But so what that means is, after Cousy retired, there was a point in time where the leading assist man on the team was Bill Russell.
Yeah.
And that, since that's the only case in the NBA at that time, other coaches didn't know how to defend that. Your team becomes much more dangerous when it's unpredictable. That's obvious. We all know that. In football, it's the biggest thing. If you can be unpredictable in the NFL, then you got a really bright future.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. With having someone like Russell, the problem with Oscar was he was so much better than his teammates that they were easy to stop if you had a competent defense, which the Celtics did. They would always beat them because they were a predictable offense. They could beat the lesser teams off pure talent. But when Red Auerbach knows what you're going to do and you don't have a plan B, you're losing. And that's that. You know, when people talk all about Russell's teammates, all the Hall of Famers, number one, they're Hall of Famers because they played with Russell. Only one of those teammates ever had an MVP. That was Cousy in Russell's rookie year. No one else that ever played with Russell ever won a single MVP. He won 5. Okay? So it was Russell's team. You can argue, well, points per game equals this, whatever. It was Russell's team from rookie season to 69. It was Russell's team. He was the leader. Every one of those former Celtics will tell you that. It was Russell's team. And that's what drives me nuts with quote-unquote fanboys that just follow a player. They just follow the player and then compare his personal stats to other individual players' personal stats. That's not how the game is played. This is not tennis. It's not boxing. And every team has a different dynamic. And that's what is so fantastic about basketball. Dr. James Naismith, he was the dude. All right. If you watch the original play, we talked about this, me and Dart. The original rules of basketball, if you notice, if you play it in your head, when you read the rules and you play it out, you realize that today's basketball is the exact opposite of what the game was meant to be. And that's why I don't like it. Originally, the guy with the ball could not move. There was no dribble. He could not move. That meant all movement on the offensive end was done by the guys who were not holding the ball. And Bill Russell famously said, if you want to be great at basketball, you better learn how to impact the game without the ball in your hand. Because 80% of the time, it's not going to be in your hand. If you got 5 guys on the court, you've got it in equal share. You've got it 20% of the time. Every other guy, that means 80% of the game, you're not touching the ball. What difference are you going to make during that period of time? If you're playing 40 minutes a game, then that means 32 minutes of the game, you're running up and down the court and you're not touching the ball. What are you doing? That determines victory. Not what you do when the ball's in your hand with your Kyrie ball handling or your Steph Curry, 35-foot chest passes at the basket. What do you do when the ball's not in your hand depends on decides when you win.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Rex, we've been doing this for 2 hours. I think it's time we shut this thing down. I think it's been a fantastic stream. But just to summarize, I know we kind of went all over the place like we typically do, but with the teams, so just to summarize, is the league better when there's more teams in it, or does it have to actually do a little bit more than just that raw number?
It has everything to not do with the number. The number has nothing to do. But if you're going to advertise as being the best league in the world, if that's how you're trying to get your viewers, saying these are the best athletes, these are the best basketball players, we got the greatest players that have ever lived right now, right here, then to go with that business model, you have to make sure you have enough spots to get all those guys in the league. So for commercial reasons, financial reasons, more teams is better. Each town can have their guy. If you're in Charlotte and your best player is Kelly Tripucka, like in 1988, Kelly Tripucka is not even top 20 in the league. He's not even top 50, right? He wasn't even top 50. But he was the best player on the Expansion League Charlotte team. So guess what? He had one of the top selling jerseys in the country. Right? Okay. All those people in Charlotte aren't buying Kelly Tripucka jerseys if they don't make that team. They're not buying the Kelly Tripucka Detroit jersey or even the Kelly Tripucka Notre Dame jersey. Ain't happening. The only reason they're selling those jerseys is because they made a team and he was the best player that first year they could get on that team. So they pushed him as the main guy. He touched the ball every time down court. He's the jersey that was being sold to these brand new NBA fans that now have their own team. So he gets the publicity. There's the money for the jerseys, but He wasn't even a top 50 player. So it has nothing to do with talent. Making new teams is purely for making money. It's purely for making money, right? Selling merchandise, selling tickets, TV deals, local TV deals. It's all about making money. That's it. It's got nothing to do with talent. Because perfect example, half the teams in the league have never won a championship. I think 14 out of 30 have never won a championship, right? Or haven't won in 50 years or more. Like Philadelphia won in 83. Sacramento Kings won in 1951. Even I wasn't born yet.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're irrelevant teams when it comes to winning. When it comes to competition, they're irrelevant. They've never won or haven't won in 50 years. 40, 50 years. Have never won. Other teams have never won. Indiana Pacers, since coming in 76, have never won, right? Did they just win? Or Oklahoma, which team won?
Oklahoma won this year, yeah.
Okay, so Seattle gets 2, right? Essentially Supersonic. Same team, different city. So they have 2 now. But there's a betting thing. When you get to the NBA Finals, whichever team has the most finals appearances and most championships, bet on that team to win. And you will make a whole lot of money. A lot of money. I can prove it. That's all you got to look at. You don't look at players. You don't look at their records during the season. If a team that has won a championship before gets to the final against a team that has not won it before, always pick the team that's won before. And you'll win 90% of the time. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
That's the way it's played out. The only time in the last 20 years I've lost money was on Toronto.
Yeah. What do you think about this? The aircraft carrier says we need a Travis versus Rex, stats versus substance debate. I don't know exactly what that looks like, but I don't think that either one of you really lean singularly to either of these things. I think you both lean more towards one side or the other, what aircraft carrier is saying. But what do you think about this in respect to stats? Do you think that stats, I guess just stats holistically, do stats in respect to player stats, individual stats, do they matter more?
Are useless.
Yeah.
You know that.
Matter more than just winning in total and then the, how they get there by narrative,
No, I'll solve this real quick. The only thing that matters is winning.
Yeah.
Period. That's all that matters. Now, if you're going to do it as a job and your bonuses, like in the NBA, are tied to your personal performance, well, then stats matter because that's your money and it's your profession. Mm-hmm. That's different. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the game of basketball. When you go out on the playground, all right, you say, okay, well, y'all won, but I make $180,000 a year. You work at McDonald's. So yay, my victory. How much you make and the professionalism of it doesn't matter. You play to win the game every time you step on the court. Anyone that doesn't is lying. You play to win the game. Any game.
So would you debate Travis on that?
I'm not debating anyone because I'm not doing the preparation for a debate. To do an actual formal debate, I'm not crunching all those. I don't have time for that. I'm not doing that. If we want to have a discussion about it, absolutely.
Okay. So how about we frame it as a discussion where you get X amount of time to talk and he gets X amount of time to talk? Or would you rather be open? In respect to interjection.
Okay, just talk. I mean, it's Travis. It's just talk.
All right, I'll present it to him.
Yeah,
and then,
I just don't see because the thing with stats. Okay, well, what are you calling stats? Because 11-1 is a stat.
It is,
and I don't even have to say what stat it is. You know what I'm talking about. 11-1 is a stat.
Yeah.
That's a stat that matters. Okay. I think it was 6.8. That's a stat that doesn't matter. I think that was Wilt's assists per game average. But,
okay. Yeah.
The point is, everything is a stat.
Yeah. Yeah. But how it accounts.
Talk about individual stats compared to team stats. Well, team stats are more important to the sport, to the game. Individual stats are more important to fans and to the player's pocketbook. I don't care about fans. I don't care about the player's pocketbook.
Okay. So how about this? I don't know if you're available. Are you available tomorrow to do this? Excuse me.
What time?
Do a discussion. Same time.
That's a struggle. I have to be up in Emerald Isle, which, as you know, is about 40 minutes away. At I believe 2:00.
What about an hour earlier?
Yeah.
Okay. And we keep it within an hour-ish time.
Yeah, hour and a half, something like that. I can leave straight out the door from this. So.
Okay. All right. I'll get with Travis because I'm trying not to debate Travis for the 1 millionth time if I don't have to.
Oh, can I make a comment about something that was commented about me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I didn't see it till right before we went on the air here. But
okay.
And I guess it was the show, was it last night? I got called out for a debate by, was it CW? Is that right?
No, by Herm.
No, by Hollywood Herm.
Yeah.
What debate? About what? I asked. I'm like, I asked, I said, what debate? Why? Who? What are we debating? What are we talking about? I didn't hear any actual, and he said I was talking trash in the comment section. I wasn't talking trash. I was stating a fact. I stated the fact that he lost the debate because in the first 2 minutes of his opening statement, he used conjecture, hyperbole, and opinion. In an actual scored debate, you get knocked points for that. So in an actual debate, he lost. That's a fact. Now, I was on his side. I think Oscar is more significant than Kuzi.
How dare you, Rex?
I believe he was on the right side of the argument, but he lost a scored debate because he used 3 things you're not allowed to use in a debate. Thus, he forfeits. That's the rules. I don't make them up. I did debate. My daughter was ranked in debate. There are rules. He wasn't going by the rules. So he lost the debate. Doesn't mean he was wrong. It meant he lost the debate.
Yeah.
And now he wants to debate me on something, but no one will tell me what we're supposed to be debating. But I'm not debating. I'm not crunching any numbers and getting any facts together from nobody. As soon as we get done with this, I'm taking the kids out to the freaking court.
To the Rex Ball court? Or to the basketball court? The Rex Ball. I forget what you're calling it now.
Oh,
3 ball?
Nah. I've been working too much. We haven't worked on that at all.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing 15, 16. Yesterday was actually a 17-hour day. Or no, Thursday was a 17-hour day. So I'm way too busy for any of that.
Yeah. So including travel, I've been doing a lot of 12-hour days for the last, but 5 days a week, not 7 days a week. I've done 7 days a week a few times here or there, but yeah, 15, 16-hour days. Yeah, they suck. Like even 12 hours a day suck, but
well, I mean, I'm making a lot of money and I'm actually ranked at my profession, their rankings with the organization I'm with, and I am ranked number 2 in America at what I do. Can't catch number 1 though. But the thing is, I can't even say I'm number 1 in my region because he's also in my region.
Fair play.
So
I'm sure that helps him.
Yeah, the guy's good. But no.
In my profession,
people challenging me to debate when they don't fully understand what a debate is, debate rules. I mean, we want to have a discussion on something. You don't agree with me on someone's impact or something's significance or a rule with the game or how something affects the game. All right, let's have a discussion on it. I'm open to that with any human being on the planet. I'll even argue with animals.
All right. So in respect to the discussion, because it is the internet, I think that there should be, it doesn't have to be debate, but just to the point of having a discussion, I think people should be allotted time to speak versus just yelling over somebody. You think that's fair? Because it is the internet and it's so easy to just yell. Is that fair? Or would you rather just it be just plainly a discussion?
Well, what it is, if you're going to do a plain discussion, you have to allow for organized breakages, which by definition, a timeout. If someone's arguing a point and says something that you know as the mediator or arbiter, if you wish, if you hear something that you know is questionable, then you go, timeout, hold up. And we check it. Is that a true statement or not? It is pretty much true. We pretty much consider it to be true, even though we don't have any proof on hand at this very second. Okay, let's go with it. And you just keep going. If somebody says something, totally out there, like obviously Kobe was better going left than Jordan. All right, hold up. Come on now. It's not true. So cut that, move on. But whichever, you want to have time things and all that, but I'm just not going to call it a debate because I'm not going to come in here with all my stat nerd numbers and say, well, here's my point of view and here's all my facts to back it up and here's my bibliography and I can prove every point I'm going to say. I'm not going through all that. I'm not. Of discussions. I'd much rather just discuss how great all these players are from day one until now, how different rules have changed the game, how the development of the game has shifted totally overseas. We taught Europe how to play basketball. Then we forgot. And they're excelling at what we taught them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's ironic.
And that's, to me, that's something to talk about. When is basketball going to eventually not be an American sport?
Yeah.
What do we need to do to put things on the straight and narrow? Is there something that should be taught that we're not teaching? Is there something that's being taught that really is overrepresentative and not important?
Absolutely. All right. I'm going to reach out to Travis and see if he wants to have a discussion with you in respect to what's more important, winning or individual stats. Is that fair?
Sure.
That's your stance, right?
Maybe he'll come up with a better idea that we're not thinking of right now.
Yeah.
He's pretty good at coming up with those. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll reach out to him because I've debated Travis, virtually 1 million times, and we don't have any debates lined up. So if I don't have to debate him, that'd be great because, I'm sure we could figure something out to be entertaining and be fun, but having some sort of variety is also fun in its own way. But yeah. Anyway, Rex, thank you for having this discussion with me. I thought it was fun. We had King's Speech Row up here. We've had the aircraft carrier here. Go Cast Hoops is laughing out loud. Impact Basketball Sarasota. What's that?
We got guys in here that really know the sport.
Yeah.
You guys in the comment section of this video, once it gets posted, put up what you want to hear. And if any of you want to hop in and get involved, because this isn't fun, just the same 2 or 3 guys talking all the time about the same stuff. What do you guys want to talk about in relation to the sport of basketball? And do you want to join us? Let's see if we can get something really cool going.
Yeah, absolutely. And whether it be the debate show or even just calling up and wanting to do more of this, hear Rex talk about the history of the game more specifically, to hear what he has to say or thoughts on that, slash me as well. But the aspect of it is put in the comment section what you want to hear, and we'll take account for
it. Real quick, to you, I wrote this down at the very beginning. I forgot to ever mention it. I was told that George Mikan dominated because he didn't have to play against black players. So
yeah, I've heard that
tell
too.
me about that thumbnail on this video. Is that AI generated, or is that actually George Mikan playing against a black center, number 8 for New York?
Yeah. And what's funny is that in respect to centers all the time, there's somebody who had a famous hook shot that was a lot like George Mikan's, who absolutely dominated the league for about, I think conservatively 10 years, but arguably 20 years, that once was regarded as the greatest scorer of all time, taking pretty much the exact same shot as George Mikan did, that he scored up with for most of his career. So, it's not a stretch of the imagination to figure out who that was. Yeah. But yeah,
Big Lou.
Yeah,
yeah.
And
they're I mean, that's the thing. People think like I champion these old guys, like, oh well, I just love the old guys. I love all of them. Okay. I love all of the great players from every era, even the eras that you guys don't even know about. The guys from the 1920s and 30s. I'm a big Joe Lapchick guy. Okay. I love the game. I love the guys and girls that have played the game, that have excelled at it. I just argue more for the older guys because a lot of the people in the comments don't know anything about the older guys. People call me a Jordan hater. They have for a decade now. I think Jordan was the greatest 2-guard to ever play. But because I don't say he was God, people call me a hater. But I had the original Air Jordans. I had them. Cost me $50.
The aircraft carrier says Jim Crow basketball was pure basketball. It's laughable. I know you're trying to be coy, and that's why it's funny. But it to the point of Rex, people just say that these eras of basketball were trash because one reason or the other. And the point of it is that it's not a video game. You don't have a time machine. These players that were absolutely fantastic were the best in the world, and that matters. And people pretend like it doesn't. And they pretend like just because George Mikan didn't play with, while Instagram was around, or even Michael Jordan for that matter of fact, is that they weren't fantastic players, or they weren't beating everybody, or they weren't great. And that's as simple as I could put it. The point of it is that people are so massively disrespectful for the experiences they never had. And that if you were 100 years old and you watched George Mikan play, I guarantee you would have some sort of resemblance to say, hey, George Mikan was the best player in the world. And you would feel it and you'd understand what that was. And people don't even take the time to have any sort of empathy or some sort of imagination to understand that. And
they don't have the knowledge. because, as you know, I sent you the information. Mikan played against the best black players.
Yeah.
There used to be a championship series in Chicago every summer, the Champions League, essentially, like soccer, where the championship winning team from every small pro league all over the country in Canada would come to Chicago and play a round robin tournament. Okay, you had the Negro League champion played in it every year. They won it once. Mikan beat them 5 times. Okay, Mikan played the best black players, just not in the NBA. Everyone knows the NBL and the BAA merged. And it was an integrated league for the first year. And then they had an unspoken quota for the next 4 or 5 years before the floodgates opened with Russell. But the NBL was integrated. There were black teams in the NBL. They played every white team. They're an equal team. What happened was the NBL, right before the season started, one of the teams, Chicago, I believe, went bankrupt, couldn't pay the players. Well, the schedule had already been written. So they invited the Negro League team to join the league and take its spot. So all the best black players flocked to that team so they could play against the best white players. But they don't tell you about the integrated league anymore. They don't tell you about the World Basketball Championships that were played for, I think, from 1939 to 1950 something. They don't tell you about all that because it doesn't fit their narrative saying, because that would make Mikan look better, and they don't want to do that. They want to push everything in the past down and out of the way, and whoever's playing right now, today, is the most skilled, the greatest, the most dominant, the most this and that, so they can sell tickets, make money, sell jerseys, because it's professional sports. They're trying to make money. That's why all the owners are billionaires and all the players are millionaires, because you fall for it. I don't.
No.
I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a large commotion going on outside. So.
All righty. Well, thank you for joining us, Rex. I'm going to put the outro video on. I'm also going to leave when the outro video's on. But for people that want to watch this fantastic LSD-driven aspect of, I don't do LSD, but this weird intro video that we have for the show. Please watch as we outro. Put anything you want in the comments in respect to any ideas that you want to see moving forward, either between me and Rex just having a discussion, or any debates or discussions, however you want to put it, between anyone that comes on this platform. Please do put the channel up. And learn the game. We're getting that for effort.
All righty. Catch you later.
All right. Have a good day, Rex.
Rules in action. Rules that keep things going smoothly and fairly. Rules that help us get where we're going. Help us work together, play together, and live together. Of course, in small groups, we sometimes get along without rules.
But there aren't any loud noises, just the sounds of working. We call these work sounds. Listen.
When many of us play together, rules make the game. Rules help us play fair with each other, so all can enjoy the game. Rules that apply equally to all. It's up to each one of us to know the rules and follow them.
Why do you suppose this room is so quiet? Perhaps we can learn from the teacher.
that knowing when to be quiet is a part of growing up.
16,000 fans watch the boys from the Pacific Coast as they try to stem the onslaught of City College fever. But it's all over when Silverstein shoots off the hardwood, decades the ball, and the ball game for CCNY 38-36.
Because a quiet room helps all of us learn.
How do you do it?
Well, each of us knows how to work quietly. That's very important.
But the evening sport is a long way from the locker room. In the second game, a team of Northwestern Wildcats is matched against St. John's University of Brooklyn. The lads from Illinois are off to a springboard start when Bob Coble, he